Hello, everybody. It is your Professor Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. This time, it's the tournament recap. Actually, we had two tournaments today, and with us for right now, while I still got him, is my partner Frank. Say hello.
Hello.
Good. Shut up, Frank. So we were up in Rochester for the Boyz. He's a very lovely person. Lets me make jokes and things. He's great. Uh, and we did the doubles event, and then we also did the GT afterwards. And let's just get right into it, yeah?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm ready too. Starting off, we're gonna go with my doubles list. Uh, in a very stacked field where everyone was probably gonna bring Mega Gargants, I went Dom Hain, the Monster Hunting Deepkin sub faction. And as a team, our grand strategy was hold the line, Triumph was bloodthirsty. I think I'll be honest. We were never getting a triumph anyway, so it didn't matter. My general was an Achillean King with the bladed polearm to really hurt on the charge. Command straight is unstoppable fury for the extra attacks. I gave him the artifact, the amulet of destiny, the mount trait void chill darkness, and something that's I had cleared up with the TO beforehand. So in the Broken Realms Marathi book, it says the first Achillean King and the first turtle get a mount trait, and then for any enhancement, you would get another one for other things. So that's why this list has two mount traits. It's how they were playing it. I took the mount trait for -1 to hit my stuff if they were within 3 inches of my king. And then I had a Tidecaster to be a mortal wound artillery piece with the spell Arcane Corrasion that does more damage the farther she is away from the enemy. Then my battle line was a unit of 3 Ishlein Guard, the defensive heals I always talk about. A unit of 10 Namarti Thralls that can blender if given the chance, or die for you. And then Shelly Baby Girl, the Leviathan with the mount trait Ancient to ignore Ren 1 weapons. And everybody brought Ren 2, so it never came into play. Alright, Frank. Do you have your list up, or do you want me to read it off the slide and then?
No, I got it in front of me. I can go
Good
over it.
man, good man. Go ahead.
All right. So I was part of the filth bringing Gargants to this doubles tournament.
Yes,
Fun fact.
sir.
Uh,
We all brought filth. It was
yeah.
great.
Oh yeah, it was. About half the teams brought Gargants, half the teams
Mhm.
brought very specific Gargant killers. A couple brought Gargants and Gargant killers.
Yep, yep. And a
But
lot of shooting too. But yeah, go on, sir.
all right. So I was playing Breaker Tribe.
Mhm.
With the heroes and wizards fierce loathing.
Mhm.
We share the grand strategy, so I also had hold the line.
Yep.
So Breaker Tribe, my Gatebreaker was my general. Um, when you're only taking two models to a game, I really wanted to be able to play.
Yeah.
So I took the extra 5 wound command trait and the 5 up board to,
Yep.
keep that sucker going.
Yep.
And points wise, I had to take a War Stomper as my
Mhm.
second Mega Gargant. And with my battalion giving me an extra enhancement, I gave him the +1 to wound artifact for his club attack.
Yeah.
Because the way the club works, even if he brackets, he's still pretty good, and it's probably still a lot of attacks.
Mm.
So him wounding on twos is real nice there.
Yeah. No, it's great. It worked really good.
Yeah, no, it definitely he hung in there even when he had a very few wounds left.
Mhm. Mhm. People say the War Stomper's the worst of the three, but when they're all really, really, really good, and he's not, but he put out some damage. And that Gatebreaker, man, saved our bacon in our last game. But let's get into the first game here. So first up was Power Struggle. We were against a team of Iron Jaws. It was Pigs in the Maw Crusher, and then two megas as well. The guy used Forge World Gargants as conversions. And this is our deployment and how we squared up. Frank took very good pictures, way better than mine. We're using his. And so power struggle. How this works, there's 5 objectives, one in the middle, two in each deployment, as you can see by the tokens. Uh, and you have to score this as hold one objective for 2 of your turns consecutively. You get another point if you hold what is it?
Hold
hold
2 for
2.
2 or
Yep.
more turns.
Then you get another one if you hold more, and then you score your battle tactic. This was FA.
Important note:
Mhm.
holding more does not require holding them for 2. It just means holding more.
Correct, which is very nice. So that first turn, you're looking to score that in your battle tactic. And also, it was FAQ to be like, it's 2 of your turns, which sounds weird, but in function, what it means is I take an objective on my turn, my opponent takes it away from me. If I can take it back, because we score at the end of the player turn, it counts, and then I'll score those points. And it was rough. We were given first turn, if I remember right, and I was a little bit chicken, a little bit gun shy here because I've got good movement, and my job was to be screening for us. And it was we had everyone had their big beefy stuff in the middle of the board to be able to go to whatever side. Everyone is super elite. Um, and we hung back a bit, and I didn't want to put my eels up towards the middle of the board to hold that central point because it would give our opponents that much of an easier charge. Like they deployed on the line, we deployed back. Um, and then we were playing around double turns, and Deep could have an ability to always strike first in battle round 3. And generally it was a slugfest. It was punching for punch there, and it was whoever got the charge off probably killed whatever they went into. One thing
Except
that
when
I
you charge a bunch of pigs and you leave a single wound left, and then he rallies them both back later.
oh
But
yeah.
anyway,
Anyway,
dice are the way they are.
it happens, and so we lost. But we played against 2 people that I'm familiar with from when I played out in Pennsylvania. They're in Maryland. I'm not gonna just throw their names out everywhere, but they did eventually win the event. So we lost to the eventual winners. It was a fun game, and I got to play people. I got to play people that I know, and it was a very nice, relaxed, but still highly technical and fun game. All right, ready, Frank, for number 2?
I am.
All right, power in numbers here. Pull it up in the old book. And we played this against 2 more Mega Gargants, as you can see, and Ogres in Blood Gullet with a lot of Foot Wizards, and their whole thing was that they needed a wizard alive for their grand strategy. And how power numbers works, I got it out of my GHB now. I know I filled my own air. Is there's 3 objectives in each deployment zone, as you can see very beautifully. The objectives were they were like carved from wood, right, and then painted. The guy was saying,
Yeah,
like he made it
I think so.
himself. And this was your buddy, right?
Yeah, they're both of them were from the local area, and so like I've run into them a few times at the local game stores.
Nice.
Good guys.
Yeah. And that's really the theme of the whole weekend. Is everybody brought filth, or at least lists they were very good and comfortable with, and they were all really good people, and everybody generally had fun. There was the occasional jerk moment people had, but overall, even through the GT, everything was pretty good. You know. And so back to power and numbers. The thing about this is if there are any battle line units within 6 inches of an objective, then you need battle line units to contest it. So what's cool about all this is the Gargants are battle line themselves. So you can threaten to say like which objective you're going to control. It's easy to outnumber people on this. And so the first Gargant army we played against, they were Taker Tribe. They counted as more models. This one was Stomper Tribe to have the artifact to reroll saves. Because like what Frank said before, when you only bring 2 models, you want them to live. And then our opponent's Gatebreaker was pretty much kitted out like Frank's with the Amulet of Destiny. So it was again a very even thing, pretty melee focused. You can see in the picture though, coming around the ruins there were some really really nice ogre shooting there. And I was able to get a really nice charge off with my king. I think I got like a 12-inch charge that I wasn't planning on. And it ended up wiping out the lead belchers. And also in that first game too, as much as the Maw Crusher can kill a Mega Gargant, the King and the Turtle combined, whew, scary stuff. But Frank here was able to hold the line, go Gargant e Gargant, and you won the Gargant duel, yeah?
That I did. That I did. I won't, wasn't all skill. I had some hot dice rolls that got me over the line. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, both my Gargants survived. Killed one of his.
Yeah.
Almost finished killing his second one, but by then the game was more or less over.
Yeah. And that's the thing of this too. This objective is the longer you hold. The point of this objective is the longer you hold your objectives, the more they're worth, and you can burn them starting at battle round 2. And it's one of those things where it's a little bit of a game of chicken with all this battle line can only control stuff, where it's like you posture to see like which objective you want to control. Like we forced them to go far over on our right flank to walk around. They didn't get that much good shooting in because of how I was able to pin people. My defensive eels are actually on the ruins right there. Um, they were at one point like 2-up charge, which was not. Sorry, 2-up save, unrendable, and it just they bought us time to hold that flank. They couldn't retreat far enough and get onto the objective with the Mega Gargants there holding it. And we were able to bring the fight to us. And then, if I remember right, I think that eel retreated off to steal the points because they had to keep moving towards us and piling in. And I'm like, oh, I've got 14 inches of movement, and we just went around.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, that is accurate. You were able to retreat the eel
mhm,
onto their corner objective in the back,
mhm.
and you just replaced it with the king, who went and blendered all the lead belchers.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. I had a blast. And also I had a little narrative with my army too. They were from the animosity campaigns you've heard me talk about on the channel before. So this was very nice to like continue their story for me and like what they were. And I named all the characters and stuff, but I know we're here for the tournament thing, but it was very nice seeing the king make that stand and put in work. All right, anything else on this for you, Frank?
No, I think we pretty much summed it up. It was a very straightforward game.
All right. Tectonic interference. Old shifting objectives. In this game, we were paired up against a Virkos Dynasty Soulblight Gravelord's army that had Prince Vordry in there to just murder everything. Because at this point, we're 1-1. We're trying to go for the 2-1 dream. Podiuming is a possibility. And we get a guy with a Vordry that just soloed a Mega Gargant the game before. So it was looking a little rough. This was one of those Gargant killer armies. And then his partner was Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Petrifex Elite, where with Archon the Black. And we agreed because of the desert terrain, the middle objective, because it's 3 objectives down the center of the board. You roll off to see which one's important. They're worth bonus points. And, you just play off of that. And because that terrain piece was so big, we agreed to keep it on there. And effectively, what that meant was the Bone Reapers reducing ignoring all their saves and stuff. They're nearly unkillable, and Archon can just keep replenishing the units. But Frank has a lovely little trick with his Breaker Tribe. If you'd like to go on about that.
So it's not a rule I get to use often, but when my Gatebreaker attacks something either in a garrison or wholly on terrain,
Mm-hmm.
such as that giant piece of terrain in the middle of the board,
Go on.
he gets +1 damage to all of his attacks. And for the record, I explained it relatively early on, so
We
it wasn't a
did.
gotcha moment. I hate
No,
that stuff. So like,
we're
I just wasn't
very
like, haha, I get +1 damage.
no,
'Cause
because
that's not cool.
no, and they were like, haha, my models won't die. We're like, okay, as long as we all know what's gonna happen here. And it was a game that I feel like our opponent snatched defeat from the jaws of victory for a little bit. It was very tight. I was able to early on take out Archon because it's funny, like I'm saying that, but we really only played 2 rounds, but there were 2 very intense rounds of this game to decide it. Um, And like for me, I immediately threw Shelly and the Eels up, trying to kill Archon because I know with like Curse of Years and the lack of spellcasting that we had, we just couldn't match up. It could be Arcane Bolt spam, it could be whatever. We're especially for my half of the army, I'm very elite, very it's 4 wounds an eel, and then if you get Archon to do all the Arcane Bolts, all of them are D3 mortal wounds, and I have no protection. Half of our army just melts. And what you're seeing on the pictures here is on the left, that's most of the battlefield. Then you see the little wing, and then on the right is a close up because an amazing duel happened with the War Stomper and Prince Vordry, where they both lived, and we were able to divert Vordry long enough that we were able to get Archon and split them up from everything.
Yeah, so to go a little bit into more the reasoning behind that is that big rock there, it was mystical, so it
Yeah,
was
it
six up,
was.
so a 6-up ward. So I intentionally put my War Stomper totally away from the rest of like both of our forces
Yeah.
as kind of a bait, and more bait in the sense of you have to deal with him, otherwise you're gonna get messed up.
Mhm.
And with the goal being of pulling Vordry away for at least 2 turns.
Yep.
And that mystical terrain really pulled through because that's the only reason I was able to tie up Vordry for 2 combats.
Oh yeah. And then you retreat it out, and it's like, well, where do they send Vordry? Do they finish off the Gargant, or do they come to the middle? And they came to the middle. And what's crazy is that was Vordry's because this is their turn 1 because they went first, is what it's looking like to me here.
No,
From
we went first.
we went first.
Yeah,
No, they
that
did
that
because
that's correct.
they persevered. Shelly.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Honestly, I played 8 games this weekend. Some
that's
of it's a
fair.
blur.
No, that's good. That's good. You're good. But the crazy part was Vordry, that was able to get a spell for extra movement. I think there was command ability to be +1 to hit, +1 to wound, +1 to save. And it was just a fully buffed up, super buff thing. And the crazy part, because it went so far out of its own way, it was hard for them to reapply the buffs. So when the time came for Vordry to come into the middle to meet the Gatebreaker there, that's as you see in the pictures on the objective. That's where it stood the whole time. It just, once it got up there, that was it. I had thralls going around the screen. I had again my eels went in and kept fighting. You also don't see on the table there was a second unit of zombies that were in reserve that we were trying to screen out with all of our stuff while we slowly worked down the Mortec. I mean,
Oh, yeah, that was one of the big things is
mm,
they needed a 9-inch charge with those zombies really bad to
yep,
take the one side of the board back, and it just didn't happen.
no, and that allowed us to keep whittling down the Mortec that retreated out of combat, and then it set up just a lot of play for us. And
But
again,
I would say the thing that kind of
mhm,
finished off the game in spirit was Vordry charged
yep,
my Gatebreaker,
yep,
and he did a decent amount of damage to it, like knocked it down a bracket and a half, more or less.
mhm,
But he had to put himself wholly on terrain to do it,
yep.
and oh boy, did I roll hot when I fought back.
Oh yeah, it
And
was crazy.
yeah, my Gatebreaker killed Vordry in a single combat,
Yep,
and at that point they had lost most of their magic, all of their hammers really, except for
yep.
the catapult. But the catapult alone wasn't gonna really swing the game.
No, no. And then if I
And
remember right too, we won priority and they just called it.
yeah, yeah, we won
Yeah.
priority going into your fights first round.
Yep. And I still had the turtle, the king that was free, and 6 thralls, and also my wizard that just kept throwing out mortal wounds from downtown. It was great. And that was doubles. We got third place because of all that. And we did all of our battle tactics. We did our grand strategy every time. We denied people some of theirs, and we were able to pull off a podium to open the weekend up.
I think the reason we got third specifically and not fourth, because we weren't the only 2-1 team.
No, we
I think it
weren't.
was
There were a
because
lot of 2-1 teams. But yeah, go on, go
I
on.
think I think it's because the game we lost were to the people that ended up coming in first. If I understand the tiebreakers correctly,
That
because
is
that's something.
correct. So yeah, sometimes it pays to lose to the winners. All right, thank you, Frank. Uh, and anything else you want to say? Any like big moments of the game? Harp on the Vordry kill again. Floor is yours to talk about the doubles right now.
Just the Vordry kill was so good because I was scared to death inside
Mm-hmm.
that he was just gonna annihilate my Gatebreaker.
Oh yeah.
Because like I didn't really, it could have gone either way at this point. The game flow as a whole was
Mm-hmm.
really, could have gone either way.
Oh yeah.
And uh let's just say I rolled a lot. I rolled a lot of fives and sixes when I needed them, and it was so good.
Yeah.
Those are the moments you play Warhammer for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And we got the big monster duel that you always want too. Uh, and
Got a
for
few of them.
yeah, no, we did. Geez, everyone brought monsters and ways to kill them. It was a really nice big cinematic dust up and gur. For me, I still think my favorite thing was the king and the turtle double teaming a mega gargant and killing it. And you charged in your gatebreaker too, and then it was the relief of we didn't need the extra help, and it was nice to see the combo that I worked on work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it
Um,
makes perfect sense.
and it worked. It was great. I love my turtle to death. Shelly baby girl is don't tell all my Stormcast, but she's probably my favorite model. And I was able to put out, and I'm not a strong painter, but my deepkin look really nice, and I was able to play with them, and I was really happy about it. So it was a good time.
Absolutely. I had a great time.
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me up and inviting me out to all of this because I wouldn't have unless you got this all started for this awesome weekend that we had.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no problem. I,
yeah,
I enjoyed it.
and the
That was my
best.
first
Oh, go
first
on.
GT.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the best part of it too wasn't even that. It was just like we kept hanging out with everybody. Then we went out to dinner with everybody else. And we found out a lot of the people are actually local to me, to where I am, and I had moved during the pandemic from a very nice large gaming club that I'm still representing, but I haven't really found that many locals. So by dumb happenstance, Rocco found a local scene in a.
Oh yeah, shout out to Bubonic Buffet. You guys are dope.
Oh yeah, great people, great people. And with that, we'll say bye to Frank, and then move on to my GT experience. All right, so bye, Frank.
Bye guys. Learn lots.
Mm. And thank you so much, Frank, again for coming on to the show, for hanging out with me the whole weekend. Let me stay at your place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to go to what happened at the Boyz GT because I wasn't just crazy to go up there to play in a doubles event. No, I wanted 8 games of Warhammer for some godforsaken reason. And this is what I played. Representing my Living City list that basically has been the same list I've been playing since the book drop, with swapping out a unit or two here in between events. I'm Living City. Grand Strats hold the line, keep a battle line alive. I'm bloodthirsty. I don't actually get a triumph because I'm 2,000 points. I'll never be lower than anybody else. My general is a Frostheart on Phoenix. The trait is Iron Oak Artisan. For me, to make it more durable and the rider wounds better. But more importantly, the artifact for me is Spear of the Hunt, which is weird to say that because a lot of Phoenixes you'll see in Cities of Sigmar use the Arcane Tome, so they themselves become a caster. They cast Mystic Shield on themselves or Flaming Weapons, and then they get all their own buffs. Not what I'm going for with this build, and we'll see how it plays out for me later. And then I've got the Celestial Hurricanum with Battle Mage on top, knowing my healing spell for my Lore Life Surge. My Rune Lord Ugni, my main dwarf and the only one I own, knows the prayer Curse because I think dwarves should always be cursing. And I've got a Knight and Cantor rounding out my leaders here with the spell Cage of Thorns. It halves your movement, and the first time you move, you take D6 mortal wounds. Nice 18-inch range. Agni's Prayer is a 9-inch range. Hurricaneum, everything on it's 18 inches. It's nice. The bird gives me an aura of -1 to be wounded in melee combat. Also, it makes my Phoenix Guard Battle Shock immune when they're nearby. If I get a friendly spell cast off within 12 inches of it, it gets +1 to its save. It's a lot of good tech pieces here. A lot of good tech pieces. And of course, all the Phoenix stuff has a 4-up ward save. That's the Phoenix Guard and the bird itself. And the Anointed can give out a command ability, which is an aura, wholly within, I believe it's 12 inches of itself, where you get to reroll wound rolls for Phoenix Temple stuff, which is great because the Phoenix Guard and the Phoenix are really good in combat. And then we've got, for the rest of my battle line, a 10-man unit of Free Guild Guard with swords and shields because they're cheap. I like having 4 battle line. And I got a unit of 10 handgunners. And then my other units are a unit of 10 Sisters of the Watch. These are the old Sisters of Avalorn that I've actually converted from old Glade Guard, where if they don't move, they get double shots and 6 to wound to mortal wounds. And so the trick is, if I can get Curse off and then shoot with them to double tap on mortal wounds, because Curse is 6 to hit. Curse 6 to hit, do mortal wounds in addition to damage, and the Sisters, do 6 to wound, are mortal wounds in addition. And it can just really add up the damage. And then I've got, of course, my 4-man unit of Fulminators that I've been rocking since I won the Cities book in a tournament. It was the prize. And I love them so much, and now they are really, really good. Everything's in 2 battle regiments. I kept the elves. Basically, everything that was melee elves and fulminators in 1. All the shooting in the Free Guild Guard in the other. The thing that I would change about this list, I might actually swap where the Free Guild Guard and the fulminators are. Because I found what I was doing is giving away that I was going to put the fulminators in deep strike. And there's going to be times where you don't want to do that, as odd as it sounds, because the thing about Living City is our hero phase, we get to heal a wound just on every multi-wound model. And in the shooting phase, at the end of the shooting phase, you pick a unit that's shot, you spend a command point from a hero, wholly within 18 inches of that hero, and the unit that's shot can move again. Fulminators have a 10-inch move, 12-inch range on their shooting. It's mortal wounds, which is nice. And also the Hurricaneum's got great mortal wound shooting. There's a lot of mortals flying around here, and it doesn't look intimidating of a list, but it's very durable. And Fulminators moving 20 inches will surprise people. And I was finding that, my first drop is the Phoenix Guard, the Rune Lord, and the Fulminators. And I was like, oh, maybe if I had it in the other battle regiment, I could psych people out. Am I going to drop the Fulminators? Am I not? And also what I'm saying for that, too, if I didn't make that clear, is Living City also has an ambush from the side of the board. So for each unit I put down on the table, I can put something in reserve. So, I could put, like, the Phoenix down, and then I'd say Fulminators in reserve, Phoenix Guard, then the other Phoenix Guard could be in reserve. But what I would do is I'd put the Fulminators, the Sisters of the Watch, the Handgunners, and the Hurricaneum in reserve. So I'd have the Rune Lord and the Incanter up front for unbinds. And one of the heroic actions you can do is give someone an extra unbind that isn't a wizard. And I put it on the Rune Lord, who natively has a +2 to stopping spells. So I was very, very good against magic and very good against shooting. And I have the damage to kill a Mega Gargant. So that's the list I brought. Now let's talk about these games real quick, all right? So day 1, we have the Vice. And I did not get pictures. Frank did a great job before. I did not. I was not that good. Also, hi, Casey. Casey asked to be shouted out in the channel. I'll gladly oblige. Casey was newer to Legions of the First Prince, but honestly was a very good player with what he did. We played the Vice, which is objectives in the corners of the board, and they slowly come in throughout the course of the game until you have one objective in the center. And it was a Legion of the First Prince army. A friend of mine plays this, so unfortunately for Casey, I had an idea of how to take it apart. And what happened was he finished deploying. I normally like giving away first turn so I could double turn later to like end a game. But Kairos and Rodriguez were close enough to the board edges where I could pop out of Deep Strike, move, and then try to make a charge on them. And even with Kairos' ability to change a dice roll, I just needed to not roll a 1 on the charge, and I was going to get in. And that's exactly what happened. I took top of 1. I came out, my mortal wound shooting chewed through most of Rodriguez to the point where I think he had 1 wound left. Fulminators moved, made the charge. 1 Fulminator went into Rodriguez. The other 3 went into Kairos. And then that was almost 800 points of the list gone. And I just traded out from there. Now, the thing that Casey did that was great to make up for a little bit of a screening lapse is he was very on top of his summoning and had some very good rolls to get a bunch of pink horrors in. And it ended up being a nail biter where he probably summoned, pinks come in 5s when summoned in, so at least 300 more points of pink horrors, which just eat up all the time and space in the world. And the list isn't killy. It's very defensive. And what I did was I traded out my main hammer and the fulminators for 2 very important heroes, yes. But then a good chunk of my killing power was gone, and it was up to posturing and positioning throughout the battle. And one thing that really saved me was my unit champion for my swordsman survived Bellicor and and a bunch of pink horrors fighting him, and I had to move around them. So what I did was I made sure I auto passed his battle shock, and I couldn't let them redeploy onto an objective. So because the one guy just barely surviving, I was able to go and maneuver and win the day. And Casey made me sweat for this, but plus side, first game, your boy won. So game 2, power in numbers again. This was, we talked about in the doubles event. It's the 3 objectives in each deployment zone. You can burn them. Battle line counts and has more priority of holding an objective. 40k, they call it objective secured. And it's again one of those things where we've got the Taker tribe. This is the Mega Gargant list that everyone's scared about. This is the meta, and the gentleman who played it was on Team America for the AoS Worlds event. Great player out of the Detroit club. I didn't remember to ask him for permission for his name. After the rest of this, they're not gonna. But fantastic opponent. And I was a goober. Tell you what, that's also not 6 drops. The app War Scroll Builder was a little bit goofy on that. That's actually a 2-drop list. I deployed first, if I remember right. Made him go first. He didn't overextend. I came in like a wrecking ball with my fulminators. I shot a Man Crusher Gargant dead. And then I came in onto the War Stomper that was holding his left flank. He had the Gatebreaker in the middle, Kraken Eater on his far right. And this is where I goofed. I said I was going to monstrously contest an objective out loud, and we're all wearing masks. And then I thought to myself, oh, that's stupid. I'll just run 3 units next to each other that are on my far left objective. And then, because I thought it in my head, I forgot to say it out loud that I was going to change what I was going to do. Then I sent my Phoenix off and screwed myself on a battle tactic. On the plus side, I think I only dropped maybe 2 battle tactics the whole tournament, and that was one of them. So, lesson learned, but the reason I did that was I sent my Phoenix straight into his Kraken Eater, who was just being backed by a Man Crusher. But the important part was I could stop his Gargant from moving onto my objectives. Because now turn 1 is he took it, he didn't move far. my turn one, I pin him in his deployment, and I actually if I killed the War Stomper, I would have had one of his home objectives, and then that forced him to have to come back for that objective, and then we just kept trading it back and forth from there. And remember, in power numbers, this is the longer you hold it consecutively, the more it's worth. So we kept resetting the cost on it on each other. And it got to the point where once I started burning objectives for myself, they were worth like 4 points, 4 points, 4 points. He had to burn it for one. Uh, it was just rough. And then he couldn't get onto my objectives because he had to defend his own. And I would, you know, I kept every turn killing a man crusher, and then when it was my turn too, I finished the war stomper, killed a man crusher, messed up another man crusher, and that was the game. My bird kept doing the Kraken Eater, healing with the heroic action, so it never got hurt. Because I took priority on turn three, and these objectives are not prime objectives. That means your opponent can burn them and not get any points, but deny you the points. And I let him, and then I just slowly kept working my way through. And then I think the score was like I had 20 something and he had 13 at the end. So I kept denying battle tactics. And my favorite moment of the game for me was I had a lone Phoenix Guard unit champion. This is a theme of what happened. He was standing alone. Shout out to my friend Jack at Rerolling Ones, where he took on a I had to charge a unit in to pin the gate breaker so it couldn't walk onto my objectives. The sole survivor of that charge was the unit champion who was able to auto pass Battle Shock again. Well, when it was my opponent's turn, he called for broken ranks on the guy, and I passed everything I could. There might have been a banner bearer at the time, and the banner got picked up and eaten. But I passed all my saves and my ward saves. He failed a bunch of key club attacks with the flail and the stomps. And at the end of the day, my elf lived, denied him the battle tactic, and I got to run away with the game and turn it into a fun time for me. So at this point, we're 2-0 in the tournament, having a fantastic time. I got the army I'm supposed to counter in Suns. I beat the army that I was honestly probably supposed to lose to in Legion of the First Prince. Skaven, Veins of Gur. I still call it Old Star Strike. Its objectives fall randomly throughout the game in random spots on the map. I do not do good with Star Strike. I got to start calling it New Veins of Gur instead of Old Star Strike because I'm jinxing myself. This is a game where I gave my opponent first turn, again, bajillion drops. And I love the list. It's what you would see in early second when the book dropped, to be like a mixed arms Skaven list with good shooting. You just have the Jezzails back there screened out by clan rats. They can't get to him. You send up the Doom Wheel. You teleport through gnaw holes. Whatever you need, whether it's the cannon, the Jezzails, all the rattling stuff, all the warp throws and the rattling guns were in one of the clan rats. You could teleport that around. Nahol's got a great change that they activate at the end of the movement phase, and the unit just has to be within 6, not wholly within. And it was one of those things where I wanted to double turn, say 2 into 3. I bottom of 1. I left the Warp Lightning Cannon on a wound. I killed the Doom Wheel. I had to clear the side of the board so my stuff could deep strike in properly. And I held my Fulminators in reserve in the idea that I would come in closer to his line and then pin him in the rest of his deployment zone. And I could control the board that way. And then the double turn happened. And I still wasn't confident because I couldn't reach the snipers that he had, the Jezzails. And I was going to wait for the objectives to drop because if something was on the other side of the board, I had to get there. And what happened was the middle objective and his objective fell on, honestly, his strong side. where he just had so many bodies, and he had the warp seer nearby and the arch warlock, and I kept leaving him on. I left the arch warlock on a wound a couple times. And that spell, the Warp Lightning Shield, is just so fantastic because that's really what happened. I did like one extra wound past the shield spell, which is ignore the first 3 wounds taken, and then after that, take d6 mortal wounds in addition to your damage. And just kept living, and I kept getting body blocked. And I double turned 1 into 2. He double turned me 2 into 3. And if I was able to return the favor one more time, I would have been able to pull it out. My Fulminators made a glorious 20-inch move to knock off Plague Monks. Because yet again, I had another 1 Phoenix Guard survive 2 rounds of combat with the Plague Monks. I think it ended up being 120 attacks that killed the other 9 Phoenix Guard. My guy just stood strong. And I joked, I'm like, if he spikes the dice to, because when Plague Monks die, you roll a dice and on a 6, you do a mortal wound back. I'm like, if he spikes the dice and kills a bunch of Fulminators, I'll still have the one elf there to hold it. Um, but, it just didn't happen. So I took the L. Yeah, Skaven beat me. Next, day 2. So at this point, right, I'm already 4-2 on the weekend. Had 2-2-1 days. Feeling good going into day 2. This is actually the gentleman who beat me with the Mega Gargants in the doubles event. And I've played before at my old gaming club, but it's been so long I didn't realize it at the time. Now I kind of feel like a horse's ass. Um and this is a Stormcast list I would play. As Astral Templars, you ignore all the monstrous rampages people do. Hold the line, have your battle line score you points for your grand strategy. Just keep them alive, like what I'm doing. And the Vanguard Paladors are very beefy. They're 5 wounds each. They teleport. Vanguard Hunters teleport on table edges. You got Neve, who teleports everywhere. Indrasta, just a scary monster hunter. This is a monster hunting army made in the monster hunting sub-faction, and I love it. I love the teleport Pennant of the Stormbringer flag for the Night Vexilor, the Arcane Tome to do Lightning Blast, which is D3 mortal wounds to the nearest thing you can see. I love everything about this list. It's a 1-drop, the Thunderbolt Volley. I mean, there's going to be times where I would even start on the table with a unit of Raptors if I was this, just to be able to shoot people, just because it'd be neat. But also, the important thing about this is this was in a Scions of the Storm, so half his army, like mine, could be in reserve, but he could drop anywhere. And so my dream scenario is he goes first in order to give me the double turn. Is at any point in time I double turn this list, I will win. In the sense that I have units I could sacrifice for an Unleash Hell somewhere, and then my Fulminators will come in and murder everything because those Vanguard Raptors are only 2 wounds apiece with a 4-up base save. I've got Mortal Wound shooting, I've got Rend. That is 79 wounds of Stormcast. That is very mortal woundable, except for Yndrasta. And his dream was he takes first turn to be able to place his long strikes where he needs to, so I can't flood the board and dictate where he can deep strike, while also using his teleports on the board edges to deny me places to go. So what happened was we played a very long game of chicken where if at any point in time I double turn, I'm bringing the Fulminators down and I go. He's playing it so that he keeps denying me space of where I want to deep strike. And it was a very well fought game. We both had to have our conservative moments. We both had to have our chances to swing for the fences. I actually denied hold the line in the attempt to stop him getting 3 points for his grand strategy. And just like not to hurt his tournament results, just to help me win the game. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, we're running out of time. It's turn 4. We're just going to call it. We're going to call it. But what they did at the tournament, which is really nice, is, you just talk out what happens round 5 if you don't have the time for it. And with that, I wasn't going to win. But, it happens. Because, again, we played a game of 40K. where he went, I went, he went, I went. And 40K, what they say there's like an 80% win rate or something stupid. I'm memeing. I think it's like 60% if you go first, you win. Um, it was a lot of fun, and the gentleman was a great guy to play against. I love the list. I love everything that it does. I only own 9 Vanguard Raptors personally from my time through second because Stormcast was my first army, and I had to, at my local store at the time, hunt down Terrorgeists. And 12 Vanguard Raptors will kill a Mega Gargant. It'll kill, um, it'll kill the Maw Crushers running around everywhere. It took the whole game to kill my Phoenix though because of that ward save and my healing. So that was nice. Yeah, no, it was nice. It was a great game. I lost. Oh boy. But again, it was a close game and it's first blood where it's 3 objectives down the diagonal of the board and we deploy in the corners. Which again, the fact that we deploy in the corners is good for me as a living city because it gives me a lot of table edge to come up. And I also was able to force him to basically have Yndrasta stand on an objective because he's so late on bodies that someone has to hold it, right? And the scoring was hold 1, hold 2, hold more. And none of the objectives were prime objectives, so battle round 3, one gets burned, and I had to take the turn. No, sorry, he took the turn. I had to burn. Uh, I would have let him burn one of mine, but I couldn't get the double. So he burnt one of the ones I was holding. I'm sorry, I burnt the middle one. This might get edited out in post. Because I didn't want to burn his, because then Yunjasta is free to just go and run me over. So I burnt one of mine. He went, and it was just a rough time, but a fun time. And again, it ended up being close. And I still, in my losses, this one I think I dropped a battle tactic as well because I just couldn't do anything because I just didn't have enough on the table from all the shooting. And still, so my one loss I scored max score. This one I scored next to max score, and I had 2 wins where I scored max points. 2-2 in the tournament. We're looking for this positive result here in the final game. Another Skaven list. This time it was a club mate. Power struggle again from the doubles event where it's the 5 objectives. It's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. It's we you see I've seen this list before. A different club mate of mine ran it actually in a league we played where I was playing Living City. And when I say it was deja vu how it happened. It was deja vu. I I was able to get priority. I gave away first turn. What happened was all the Storm Fiends got super buffed up, killed 9 Phoenix Guard out of a unit of 10, made a 12-inch charge, killed the one Phoenix Guard guy, fought my bird. My bird lived. She put, oh gosh, probably 24 damage through onto my bird, and I took 3 with my ward save because I just rolled so hot. And then I came on with my fulminators and my shooting and everything, murdered the Storm Fiends, and was able to regain my objective that she took from me. And then I didn't get priority again. And then the Skaven just crept closer up to the middle of the board. And another cool thing about this was I was nervous that the Storm Fiends might like redeploy, but I had the bird in combat with them to stop them from that. And I was able to use that to my advantage. A Vermin Lord Deceiver there teleported and then just destroyed my Celestial Hurricanum on a 6-inch charge. I was able to unleash hell with the Hurricanum, put I think 6 wounds onto it at the end of the day. And then when it was my turn, onto my fulminators were untouched, my bird was untouched. I was able to actually run around the deceiver to claim the objective it just took from me. I was able to force a redeploy on one of the Skaven home objectives, which allowed me to go around Thankful and on Bone Ripper in their screen of clan rats. And I was able to actually make a charge with my Knight and Canner to save my fulminators from being unleashed hell on by Thankful's 4 warp fire projectors. And it just was, and on top of that, my bird was able to charge the deceiver. So, not that I've really discussed what the combo of my list does, but this was a game that did it perfectly. I am able to fight first when I charge with my bird, and then I pick a unit for me to go. And this game, very specifically, it worked out perfectly in that my bird knocked off the deceiver, and then my fulminators killed Thankful and the clan rats, and that was pretty much the game right there. Bottom of 2. We played it out for battle tactics and such. But that was my game, and it was awesome for me. It's always fun playing a clubmate. You're a little sad that you're gonna knock. We were both going for the 3-2. But it was a fun time. It's a matchup I love to play against, and Skaven are just fun. And Skaven had a very good showing at this tournament. The Skaven player that beat me still finished 3-2, I believe. The Stormcast player that beat me finished 3-2. But then you see a funny thing happened, where when you go to strength of schedule and all the points you get from all your battle tactics and your grand strategies, your boy actually finished as the best 3-2. There, I ended up being the best Cities of Sigmar record, and I ended up getting 14th out of 66 players. And it was like a murderer's row of like the Trentinelli brothers, I think finished 2-3. A lot of like the big name friend of mine, James O'Brien, finished 3-2 with his Daughters of Cain, and he wins tournaments. Like everyone that you've seen like win a tournament online in the US pretty much showed up to this event, and everybody beat the snot out of each other. So to recap and wrap it all up, in the doubles event, your boy got third. In the GT, your boy got 14th out of a humongously stacked field. Represented Cities of Sigmar, living cities. Did great. Had a great time. Had 8 amazing games. And I want to thank you all for coming to class and listening to me go on about this GT. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much, but I do want to say, like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends. Your boy is a certified good tournament player. I think at this point in the ITC rankings, I'm even like the 3rd best cities player in North America. A little humble brag, Yeah, doing good. Doing good. So if you want to learn from a tournament player who names all his units and plays it very narratively and fluffy, but still wins games somehow, come watch more of our stuff. Thank you all for watching, and as I like to say at the end of all of our videos, class dismissed. Bye.